find some successful people. And I learned to listen instead of talk. And I figured this, if they listened to me, they could get what I had. That's the best they could do. But if I listened to them, I could probably get what they had. So I learned to just be quiet and listen. And I also learned a lot from doing. And I made that kinesthetic connection just by diving in and doing things. And that's how I either figured things out or I didn't. And so what I really became good at was knowing what I didn't know and being diligent enough to find the answer. And one of the things, you mentioned the blame game, is I really don't try to pretend to be something I'm not. If someone is talking over my head or if I'm confused, I don't pretend to act like I know it. I raise my hand and I say that I don't know. I've always considered myself very open-minded, so I'm never really quick to think I'm the smartest person in the room. I just let everybody else prove they're not. So people do and say some pretty crazy things, and I just never wanted to be that person. So this made me work hard and be prepared. I wanted to know what I was talking about before I spoke, and I actually wanted to ask thoughtful questions and never make myself the issue. So
that's a biggie. You know, that's a real biggie, because you're saying that, in fact, I sense a degree of humility. Now, people, just make sure that you don't confuse humility with humiliation, okay? We're not trying to make you small. What we're saying is that you know well enough who you are that you will need help. And like Rick said, asking for help is the best thing, you know, in what he did, because even though, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're already a successful businessman, but yet in a different arena, you were willing, very willing to get help.
Every day. You know, every day I'm seeking knowledge. So again, I never think that I am above listening to anyone, and I have kind of become a collector of stories. I want to know what everybody else is doing, what everybody else has done. I'm always trying to find that nugget that I have not experienced or that I didn't know. And then what I always do afterwards is, especially if I make some type of a commitment, I always try to follow up my words with action. So if I can keep my commitments and I can communicate honestly, I feel like I'm going to build those genuine relationships that are going to make people want to share with me. And I try to never surprise people in a negative way either. I always tell my kids, I hate surprises. But the psychological challenges that we encounter, kind of back to your original premise about the blame game, is people fall in love with suffering, and they just cannot let go of the past. And what I try to do is show them ways to realize that we can't change the past, and so it's such a big waste of time to dwell on it. And my philosophy is that I can always make money, I can always make friends, but I cannot manufacture time. And as I get older, that is the most apparent realization to me. So it's my most valuable resource. So when people finally realize that, especially when I get them in this trading course, it renews their sense of urgency. They finally begin to take personal inventory. They look at and they reevaluate where they are. And, you know, they have to realize that it's you that got you where you are. And it's hard for us to look in the mirror and take responsibility for that. And, again, we hold on to things so that we can blame others. And as you know, it is a debilitating endeavor. And that's what so many of us do.
Whoa, that's a good one. I like that. You know, you're a straight shooter. So hey, you guys out there on Blog TV, right? You're listening and you're watching, obviously, and you're sticking around. So what Rick has said has resonated with you. Type in your questions. Ask him, okay? Ask him whether, you know, this is it for you. Because one of the, I think, fears that people have, and that's why they sort of absolve themselves of the responsibility, is that they have this notion that Forex trading is a bit like gambling. And I'm sure some people, you know, that's their first reaction to it when you say, hey, I'm a Forex trader. They think you're a professional gambler. Now, I don't believe that's true, but I'd like your thoughts on that first.
Well, I actually put together a whole lesson on how to make money without gambling, and the difference is notice the popularity of poker on television, and notice that most of these people sit down to the table with a plan. They understand and accept their own personal level of risk, and they follow a strategy. And sometimes that strategy will pay off, and sometimes that strategy won't. But the message and the name of the game is to make it pay off more times than it doesn't. So why do you think in Las Vegas the lights and the noise, it's to distract you from being focused? And why do you think they use chips instead of cash? Do you think you lay down $100 in cash on the roll of the dice? It's to distract you. It's to change your mindset from disassociation of the risk. And what professional poker players and what professional gamblers understand is processes and risk. And so it's the same in trading. If you focus on the process, and you can calculate mathematically and empirically whether or not a system has a positive expectancy, and it's simply a matter of you executing the system. So mathematically, we can prove whether or not something's going to make money. The question is the person clicking the button, and that's the psychological challenge. It's fear, it's greed, it's lack of patience, and then, like we talked about before, when directions are not followed and the system, whose proven expectancy can make you a tremendous amount of money, is not adhered to, they're pointing to the market. So, they think the market's looking over their shoulder and mocking them in some way. I promise you it's not. I used to think that. But once I got over that psychological hump that I have to be responsible for every decision and I have to follow a set of rules in a boundless environment, I began to become extremely successful. And I practiced discipline in the markets by actually going to Vegas and playing poker 3 days a week.